Hey everybody, I'm JJ. You're watching Reality Survival, and tonight we're going to talk about water purification. We're going to talk about water purification and storage and transportation and all the kind of stuff you need to know as a prepper. So that is the topic. You guys can let me know. Nikes, wrong channel. Wait a minute, maybe it is. I think it's good. All right. A little technical thing here. Hang on. Just got to make sure that. Yeah.
The topic.
Okay. I think we're good. All right. Technology. It's the bane of my existence. All right. Let me refresh this. See if we can get
A little technical thing.
The chat to pop up. I want to be able to see what you guys are saying. And it's taking forever. Okay. Well, I suppose it'll fix itself at some point. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Okay. Oh, there it is. It's all good. It's working now. Okay. Just a little delay, I suppose. All right. Put that over here. So those of you who watch regularly, you might be able to tell that I have decided to switch some things up. And the reason is like the weekly prepper sit rep things, not all that many people watched. And also, I think at the way that the pace, the speed that everything moves nowadays, it didn't really make sense to wait for a week and then hear news stories because a lot happens in a week nowadays. So if you guys want to see the articles that I'm going to put out for the prepper sit rep, the best way to do that, really the only way to do that, is going to be to go to Twitter and follow me on Twitter. So it's just at Reality Survival. If you haven't gotten a Twitter account since Elon has took it over, it's a lot better than it used to be. It really, really is. Just the whole environment and everything about it it's a better user experience, I think. But anyway, I'll put out all those articles with the hashtag prepper sit rep. And then that way you can either, if you don't want to follow me, that's cool. You can just follow the hashtag. That's where I'm going to, that way you get them real time. So as I see them, I'll throw them out. You can get them. And whenever you decide to check your Twitter or whatever, you can see them. So what else do I want to talk about? Oh, while we're letting some folks get in here. Oh, we got Renaissance Marine TV. He's in here. What's going on? If you guys haven't subscribed to his channel, you should go over and check it out. Same thing with Jared Williamson. He has a channel as well. You guys should throw your links in the chat so that everybody can know where to go. We got Utah Mike, Sheila, Angela. What's going on? Jackatronics. How you doing? All right. So Google fam is how you found this channel. Oh, that's cool. That's interesting. So while we're letting a few more folks load in here, I'm going to show you about something really cool. So Duration Health. Duration Health is a online medical service, some sort. Not sure what the best way to describe this is. What they do is they facilitate a meeting between you and a doctor, and then the doctor, you'll go through an evaluation program online after you fill in certain information and all that kind of stuff. They sit down and have a video teleconference with you one-on-one, talk about your specific needs and all that, and what issues you have, your travel plans and all that kind of stuff. And then they will prescribe through an online pharmacy the medicines that you want or need based off of your situation. So this is a different thing than the Jase Medical. As you guys know, I'm an affiliate with Jase also. I also became an affiliate with these guys. The reason I became an affiliate with both is because they're just a little different service. The Jase is sort of the baseline, 5 antibiotics that cover a multiple range of symptoms. Now, this also comes with a base of, I think, 5 or 6 prescription antibiotic medicines, but it also has additional stuff. You can also get over-the-counter stuff through there, and then you can get like EpiPens. You can get medication specific for your situation. Now, they don't prescribe like narcotics, and they don't prescribe stuff that is like chronic pain kind of, or chronic, that's not what this whole thing is for. It's more for like if you're planning to, trying to plan for a disaster, or if you're trying to plan for a government shutdown, or if you're trying to plan for like you're going to travel and you're going to be in a remote area where there could be cholera or typhoid or whatever, so it's a pretty intense thing. And I will tell you that it's fairly expensive. So I worked with them a deal to get you guys $50 off for each kit, that you use the discount code Reality Survival for. So if you just go to durationhealth.com/reality survival, and then use the Reality Survival discount code. So here is, just give you kind of a quick look. Here is the inside of this. I'll just show you all of the stuff that I got. Let's see here. We got, this is a generic version of Diamox for altitude. I don't do a whole lot of mountain climbing these days, but I thought it'd be good just in, sometimes we might go hiking or something out in Colorado if we visit my daughter or something like that. Then we've got some malaria medication. I believe it's called atovonaquone. Parangril. I don't know how to pronounce all that. These names are terrible to pronounce. Got some azithromycin, got some cefaflexin, got some dexamethasone, got some doxycycline, hyclate, got some meclizine, that's for motion sickness and stuff. We've got several people in the family that have that. We got some metronidazole. We've got some basically it's the generic for Zofran, which is I want to say for nausea. Yeah, for nausea. And then we got another one, prednisone, which is a steroid, and that's the generic for deltazone. And then that's on one part of it, and then it comes with, it's a really good case as far as, that's just the emergency, in case of emergency card. Okay, so there's another side. Like I said, it's spendy, but if you want to have basically a mobile prescription, a mobile pharmacy, then this is kind of the way to go. We got some, what the heck is that? Triam. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Triamclorazone. What is that for? Some sort of a cream for external use. Let's see. Got some diphenhydramine. Got some antidiarrheals like loperamide. Got some oxafloxacin, ophthalmic solution, basic pain reliever stuff. Some more transdermal, behind the ear motion sickness, diphenhydramine. And then it comes with all the prescription stuff as far as like the guidance and the usages and the dosages and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool. You can get EpiPens. Now I will tell you, if you have somebody in a family that has an allergy and you need an EpiPen, you can get those as well. I didn't get one of those because it's pretty expensive. Because the way they do it is they charge you for the medication, like the pharmacy charges that, and then you also get a charge for the doctor prescribing the medication, so to speak. So yay capitalism. I understand everybody has to make a living, and I don't think there's anybody else out there doing this to this level of detail. I mean, the meeting that we had with the doctor was pretty extensive. We went over a lot of stuff, and it was probably a 30-minute or so, pretty direct discussion on all the things that we needed. I thought it was a pretty cool deal. I thought I'd share it with you guys. The Jase case is also good. Both of them make a lot of sense to me. So might check it out if you want to. We got Crafty Veteran in the house. If you guys haven't subscribed to Crafty Veterans channel, you better go check him out. Larry, Michael, what's going on? Stray Kitten, how you doing? And Earl, all right, and Brushburn. Okay, guys, well, thanks for dropping in. And give it just a little bit longer here, and then we'll get going on this water purification. If you've got questions about water purification, get those questions out, get them in the chat, put them in all caps or some way that I can identify them. Let me go ahead and share the screen here real quick for a couple of things. And okay, so this is the Duration Health website, durationhealth.com/reality survival. As you see, you can get the $50 med kit there. So check that out. Also, EMP shields. They've got a couple of different bundles that they're doing. You guys can take a look at those if you want. If you haven't gotten an EMP shield for your house or your vehicle or your whole house generator or your solar panels or whatever, then check this out, empshield.com. I will tell you that we are getting to the point to where I'm a little concerned about what's going on in Ukraine. Russia is not performing well already. And if they, send out these tanks and all that kind of stuff in a few months, that's going to make things probably even worse. Not that 30 tanks is going to make a huge difference, but it's not going to help the Russians do any better for sure. And there is that whole thing where earlier in the year, Joe Biden said, if we send tanks, that's going to mean World War III, no doubt about it. He literally said that on national TV. So now he's decided to send tanks. Okay, so that is what it is. I don't really think there's a high likelihood of a nuclear war, but we're preppers, and if you feel like you want to do something to get ready to make sure that you could withstand whatever comes our way, EMP shield might be a good idea. And I think that's good for now. Okay, so let's get back to the water purification. All right. Oops. Find my window here. I'm getting covered in windows. All right. Utah Mike says he'll investigate the meds. Okay. All right. So, Jared says, do you think the Abrams tank is better than what the Russians have? Yeah, I think so. Although they're not going to get the full meal deal. They're going to get a watered down version. Milo on the ready says, how many water purification methods do you have to rely on in SHTF? Well, we're going to talk about that because there's a lot. And I personally have most of the ones that we'll talk about. There might be some in there that I don't, but I do have quite a few. So let me share my screen with you, and this will just kind of be a guide. You guys can download what I'll be showing you at americanpreppingacademy.com, and that is the emergency prepper's guide to emergency water purification. So I'm not going to just read all this to you. I'm going to kind of skip through the highlights, and maybe as I go through these things, it'll help spur some questions on from you guys, and then I can answer those direct questions about like your situation or whatever the case may be in the chat. So I'll go down this for 5 or 10 minutes, however long, and then we'll go back to the chat and we'll talk about a few things, and then we'll kind of go back and forth. So the reason, and what I'm going to do here is each week on Sundays, instead of doing the prepper sit rep, I'm going to do an informational live stream video where you can ask questions on these topics. So we'll start out with like water purification. Next time, maybe we'll do food storage and food, procurement and, all the topics on food. Then maybe we'll do one on home security. Then maybe, just down the line, kind of down through the, the most important prepper topics. And we'll see if folks like that a little bit better, if it gets a little bit more attention and all that kind of stuff. Because my goal is to try to reach as many people as possible. So if you can share this video, that would be awesome. All right. So the World Health Organization says that every year, 3.4 million people die as a result of water-related diseases. There's several different contaminants that can possibly make water unsafe. We're talking about bacteria, viruses, cysts, parasites, and protozoa. Those are the most common things. You've also got some additional things like salt, petroleum products, volatile organic chemicals, oils, and pesticides and heavy metals. So we're going to talk about pretty much all that stuff throughout this point here. So their main ways to purify water are through the application of heat or light, through chemical applications, and through filtering. Okay. And so we'll kind of break it down. When we're looking at boiling, boiling is probably the most universally recognized way to make most water safe. However, you need to understand with boiling, it doesn't get rid of petrochemicals or salt, those kind of things. It just basically will pathologically, it'll kill the pathogens in the water. So your bacteria, your viruses, your cysts, all that kind of stuff. So how long do you need to boil it? And what's the deal with that? Because there's a lot of different people say a lot of different things. So basically, if you get it to a hard rolling boil for 1 minute and you're less than 6,500 feet in altitude, then you're good to go. If you're above 6,500 feet in altitude, then boil it for 3 minutes. Okay. That's as easy as you can go. Now, technically, you're probably fine if you just bring it to a rolling boil, but to be safe and all that, they say 1 minute is good to go. Now, again, it won't remove salt. It won't remove chemicals. It won't remove pesticides unless they have, a boiling point that's lower than water and it happens to evaporate or something. But you can't plan on boiling, removing everything. It does use a lot of energy as well. So that's another downside to boiling. All right. So pasteurizing water is another method that you can do to make water safe to drink. This requires less energy. You could use a solar oven like this, or you could use just in a pot of water if you've got a water pasteurization indicator or a WAPI. Basically with pasteurization, you have to bring the water up to 149 degrees Fahrenheit. And once you do that, it'll be safe to drink. So there's a benefit here that you can use less energy to make your water safe. But the downside is you don't have any visual indicator of when the water is safe to drink. You have to have some way to measure that, like using a water pasteurization indicator or a WAPI. So it's a good option if you've got one of those. Basically, this is kind of what they look like here. I'll try to make the pictures a little bit bigger. It's just a little piece of plastic, basically like a little plastic straw. It's got some soy wax down on one side of it, and then you put that in the water. When the wax melts and goes to the other end, you're good to go. It's not too high tech. And I think the WAPI gets it up to 158 degrees, so you're well past that 149 point. Okay, and you can use that over multiple times. You just take it out and let it cool. You can use the WAPI over and over. They might have those on Amazon. I'm not sure. But you can do that, just by setting up a reflector around a water, using the sun, so it's real energy efficient to purify water that way. Again, that won't remove salt. It won't remove chemicals and all that kind of stuff. Just takes care of the pathogens. All right, so distilling water is another way to do it. You can buy a desktop kind of distiller, or you could get like a survival still or something along those lines off of Amazon. Here is just a real basic representation of what that looks like. You put water inside here, you apply heat. As the steam comes off, the steam comes up through this copper pipe and it starts to condense on the outside of the pipe, and then fresh water drips out. Now, this will remove a lot of stuff, and it'll make it mostly safe. The one thing that it won't still get is anything that has a boiling point chemically that is higher than water. That chemical could still be in there because it hadn't boiled off or whatever. So it doesn't necessarily get all the chemicals either. There's really no one solution that does everything when it comes to water purification. Okay, so this was a picture I found online. I thought it was interesting. I've never tried it. It's got a big stock pot right here. Lid is turned upside down. They tied a string and a coffee cup to it. Now, you'd sure have to be fairly careful about how you tied that and everything to get that to work 100%. I'm not 100% sure. It might make an interesting experiment. If anybody wants to try this, I'd love to know how it comes out. So distillation is great because it'll remove the microorganisms, it'll remove heavy metals, organic compounds, and most chemicals, and even some radioactive solids or fallout particles. However, if there's chemicals in the water that's being boiled, it is possible that some of those chemicals could also evaporate and recondense in with the good water. Yeah, so I guess I said it wrong earlier. I said boiling point was higher. It actually would be lower because when those chemicals come up, if they recondense in the pipe, then you could still get those. But again, not really something, not a huge thing to worry about. Okay. This is a solar still here, this picture, and I just wanted to bring this up because all the survival manuals talk about this, and they act like it's like the best thing to get water in the desert. It's totally not the best thing to get water in the desert. It does work, and you might get half a cup or a quarter cup, or if you're lucky and you had a lot of green vegetation in there with it, you might even get a full cup. But you're probably going to burn more water digging the hole out and setting it up and getting it all put together than you would by what you'll get out of it. A more energy efficient way to go about it, if you have vegetation in the area, is to do a transpiration bag. Basically, you just put a bag around a branch of a tree, tie it off kind of tight, put a little pebble in the bottom here, and then as the sun shines on it, the water will bleed, or the tree will bleed out water. Now, you do have to be careful because if that plant has any poisonous characteristics, you could potentially get those poisons and toxins and stuff like that in the water as well. So make sure that the plant is a non-poisonous plant. Okay. All right, so then we've got ultraviolet light, using ultraviolet light to purify water. One of the common ways for that is, I think I've got a picture of it here. Hang on a second. Yeah, there we go. The Adventure SteriPen. Thank you. The name was escaping me. SteriPen is not a bad way to go. It takes batteries. You just put it down inside of your little container and hold it there for a minute, stir it around, and that will kill up to 99.9% of the bacteria, viruses, and protozoa. See if there's any. Oh, the SODIS method. I want to cover that real quick too. So the solar disinfection method is basically using the sun's ultraviolet rays to sterilize the microorganisms in the water. What you want to do here, just like this lady's done here, is you set some clear plastic jugs out in the sun. You make sure that they are a 3 liters or less, and they are a recycling code PETE1. That's important. Also, make sure the bottle is clear, not tinted, not heavily scratched or marred. If you can pre-filter it to keep the turbidity down in the water, that's a good idea. And you want to do it on a clear and sunny day where the bottle will need to stay out in direct sunlight for at least 6 full hours. If it's a partly cloudy day, more than half the clouds in the sky, more than half the sky covered in clouds, the bottle will need to stay put for 2 full days. The ambient temperature does not affect this process. However, the water can't be frozen. So again, doesn't remove salt water, doesn't remove chemicals, pesticides, petroleum-based products, or anything like that. If you've got the ability to pre-filter it with an activated charcoal filter element, then that would be really good. Okay, we talked about the SteriPen. And again, if you guys want this like for your emergency binder or whatever, you can download it at AmericanPreppingAcademy.com. Okay, let me go to the chat here and see if you guys have got anything. Okay. Angela, I was going to talk about that here a little bit later on. And that's a good point that you brought up. You know, that doesn't, just using sand, gravel, and charcoal does not make water safe when it comes to microorganisms and pathogens. Now, if you're going to use it in cooking and you're going to bring the water to a boil, then you'd probably be okay. But as a general rule, if you're not going to boil it, then, you know, you might want to just use that for, you know, bathing or something along those lines. So Earl says, I need advice on protecting my bottled water supply from its indoor environment. I don't fully understand what you're asking, Earl. So if you could expand on that, then that would be great. Jared Williamson has a video over on his channel. You guys check it out. It was a good video. I saw it about why filtration doesn't remove salt from water. Angela says distillation is better with a bowl in a bowl. I've done it to desalinize water in a lab. Well, that's cool. Mike, so is pool water safe to drink in SHTF, long-term, short-term? Okay. So here's the thing with that. If you've got the little litmus strips, you're going to want to try to get the chlorine as low as possible, because if the chlorine content is too high, you can it can upset your stomach and stuff. It's probably not going to kill you. Obviously, people go and drink, you know, pool water all the time in pools and stuff. But on any kind of a scale, if you're drinking a lot of it, it could potentially make you sick. So what you can do is you can take some of the water out of it and you can boil the water for a little while, and not to make it pathologically safe, but to release some of the chlorine gas that's in the water. Or if you don't want to boil it, if you don't want to waste the energy, you can just pour it like from 2 5-gallon buckets back and forth like 30 or 40 times, and then let it kind of sit and air out, because you just want to try to release that chlorine from the water as much as possible before you drink it. Now, if it's been, you know, if the pool's been sitting there for a while and it's gotten mucky and, you know, all that, because the pump's not running and all that kind of stuff, like if you didn't have any power, then you're definitely going to just want to treat it like pond water and run it through some kind of a filter or boil it, or, you know, one of the other methods that we'll be talking about here tonight. Distillation is very slow and it's also very energy intensive. Angela, that is correct. All right. Even Steve, even with fueled distillation, it's still pretty slow, and it's not the most efficient process because you still lose a lot of it in the conversion. So like it would probably take, and I don't know exactly, don't hold me to this exactly, but I'm going to say if you had 2 gallons of water that you tried to distill, you're probably, on the average homemade contraption, you're probably only going to get about a half a gallon or less in the distillation, probably even more like a quarter of a gallon. So the conversion rate there is not real great as far as all that goes. There is a lot of loss, and that heating that water up for that long, it does burn up a lot of fuel. Let's see. Oh, okay. Earl said his bottled water is in a pole barn, and he's wondering if he should wrap the cases in something for long-term storage. Yeah, I probably would. I would probably take some of that, like saran wrap or whatever, that stretchy saran wrap that you can put around stuff. And the reason is, mice and stuff could chew through it if they want to or whatever. They'll be able to get through that, no problem. But mostly to help keep the cases keep their shape, because a lot of times when the bottles start to lean and move over and all that kind of stuff, that's when they get crunched and they start leaking and stuff. So if you had some of that saran wrap, it's like moving stuff. I don't even know what the name of it is, but stretchy stuff. And usually you'll find it on pallets and stuff like that. Pallet wrap might even be the right name for it, but and wrapped them up really good and tight like that and kept them in a nice solid form, then that's probably going to work pretty good to keep them there. Just my thoughts. Tom, what's going on? All right, so let's go back to this and see what. I gotta share my screen. Okay, so when we're talking about filtration, now we're going to move on to filtration, and we need to understand microns. So 1 micron is a unit of measure in the metric system equal to 1/1,000,000th of a meter, or about 39 millionths of an inch. The average cross section of a human hair is about 50 microns. So that's when we're talking about microns, that's what we're talking about. Now, bacteria, viruses, and cysts all range in size. So bacteria is usually 1 to 10 microns in length and 0.2 to 1 micron in width. And bacteria is in pretty much all open water sources found everywhere. Viruses, they are quite small. They run somewhere in the range of 0.004 to 0.1 microns in size, which is about 100 times smaller than bacteria. And then cysts run in the range of 2 to 50 microns. All right, so basically, if you're trying to buy a water filter for backcountry and emergency usage, you want to ensure that you get a filter that's at least capable of filtering out all substances that are 0.2 microns or larger. Also, any water filter that claims it can remove 99.9% of viruses through filtration alone is not being truthful unless they can filter down to 0.004 microns, which is, I think, smaller than water. So that's not gonna happen. Now, there are filters out there like the Grail and a couple others that use a different process called adsorption, and so that's a slightly different thing. But anyhow, we'll look at the different types of filters real quick. This is a Katadyn Hiker, and it uses a glass fiber water filter. Usually it'll go down to 0.2 microns. These filters are fairly cheap. They usually only filter a couple 100 gallons of water, something along those lines. They're pretty good, pretty lightweight. They might be good for like a bug out bag or something like that if you wanted to get some. This is my personal favorite. This is a Katadyn Pocket. It'll do up to 10,000 gallons. It has a ceramic element, and it's built to last. It is a very, very high quality water filter, and you pay for it, but it's very, very good. There is a common misconception with silver impregnated ceramic filters like the Katadyn Pocket that the silver will kill viruses in the water, and that is not what it's made to do. The silver impregnation is actually made to kill the organisms in the filter once it's, being stored or whatever the case may be, so that the filter stays good longer. So it doesn't necessarily take the stuff out of the water. I like pairing this water filter with the activated carbon or charcoal unit also that is made by Katadyn or Katadyn, however you say it. Okay, now everybody's favorite, the filters that I hate, the hollow fiber micro tube filters. This would be like your Sawyers and stuff like that. They boast to be able to filter 100,000 gallons of water. The only thing is you need to make sure that it does not freeze and it does not get into high temperatures, like being stored in a car or something like that during the summer. That would not be good, because these little filters or these little tubes they're made of plastic essentially, and they can break very easily. I did a video showing just how delicate these things are. And they're really a one season filter. That's why they only cost $20 or so. They're not meant to be a lifetime filter. And even Sawyer on their own website says, while there's no definitive way to tell if a filter's been damaged due to freezing, Sawyer recommends replacing your filter if you suspect that it has frozen. So I'm not a big fan of the Sawyer filters personally, just because the way that they're made, you never actually know if anything's broken on the inside or not. So, okay, here we had Angela, I think, was talking about this. This is the survival filter that is shown in like every survival manual ever, and it's so misleading. I don't like it. They say, you put grass here and then sand here and then charcoal down here, and then you drip through, and that makes your water safe. But it doesn't make it safe. It makes it safer. It'll probably be safer to drink, but there is no guarantee that it will be actually 100% safe. This is the kind of method that I think would be more applicable for, like taking pond water or something and trying to strain it out to get it to be, have less turbidity, or maybe you're going to use it for taking showers or baths or something like that, and you're not going to, be ingesting it or something along those lines. But relying on this to make your water actually safe to drink will pretty much guarantee you're going to get sick. Okay, let's see here. So here's another type of a filter that you can make using like a 2-liter bottle or a 5-gallon bucket or pretty much any container. And you start with some cloth on the bottom, and it's, some holes down here. Put in a layer of charcoal, a layer of sand, and then a layer of gravel, and then you fill it from the top. So you can adapt that to, pretty much any container. Reverse osmosis, I would recommend having one of these types of filters if you live close to the coast and you're going to plan on getting your water from the ocean. That's what this is made for. It's called the Katadyn Survivor 6. It's quite expensive. I want to say, yeah, somewhere in the like $1,000 range, if you can find them. I haven't even been able to find them for a while. But they are good at making salt water safe to drink. It's a reverse osmosis filter. And so that's kind of the way to go if you live in an area where you're close to water. Okay, seepage wells. If you're in a wilderness survival situation, or in a situation where you're just trying to find water on your property or close to your house or something, find a low-lying area with lots of vegetation, lots of shade, where someplace where it looks like if it rained, the water might, settle in, and then dig a hole and start digging. And then as you get down, you'll start to see where water kind of starts to seep in. Dig a little further, dig down another foot or so past that point, and then just stop. And if you want, you can put like a big rock in the bottom of it, but it's really not even needed. Just let the water settle for like an hour or two, and then come back and then kind of dip your water out of there. Now, that water will be almost safe to drink. Okay, there's no guarantee it's going to be completely safe, but it is pretty likely that as long as you've got 3 to 4 feet of solid earth around the hole, for at least from the edge of a water source, then that water in that hole is probably going to be safe to drink. It's not 100%, but it's probably going to be okay. Another thing you could do is you could also take, if you wanted to make sure a little bit more, you could take some heated rocks and you could throw in the water with it until the water starts boiling. And then the water will have been boiled in the nice little mud container, and then you could drink that. So that's a possibility as well. This here is a beach well. And with a beach well, what you want to do is you've got the ocean out here, got your first sand dune, and then behind that first sand dune down in the trough, that's where you want to start digging for water, just like with the seepage well, and then just line it with driftwood to keep the sand from collapsing in on itself. The water might still be somewhat brackish. If it is, then just move to the next dune back. Again, it should be safer, but it's not a guarantee. Okay, this is the chemical section. Let me stop here and we'll go back to the chat real quick and see what everybody's up to. If you've got questions, comments, whatever, shrink wrap. That's what I was trying to think of. Thank you. All right. So Utah Mike, there are some other chemicals in a pool, but some of them are salt water. Some of them are chlorine. I've only had chlorine. I know chlorine is the primary thing that you need to worry about. But again, you'd have to just look at your pool. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not 100% sure on the salt ones. I assume if there is salt in it, then you would need to do either distillation or you would need to use some sort of reverse osmosis filter or something like that to get the salt out. Hopefully that makes sense. Eric Booth says, I got a Berkey and I love it. Yeah, Berkeys are not bad, or the Alexa Pure Pro. Those are fine. They're just a gravity filter. If you clean the water, like if you pre-filter the water, like if you got it from a lake or a pond or something, before you put it into your Berkey, it'll make it last a lot longer. So let's see here. Adapt 2030 says 5-gallon pot still. Can't live on it forever, and if you get bored, you can still distill alcohol. Yeah, I have a small 2-gallon still, and it's just made for water. You know what I mean? But you could do more, and I suppose you could probably figure out. You could probably do alcohol if you knew how to do it. I have no idea how to do that. But yeah, a small still can work. Be careful though, because some states require anything more. I want to say it's more than 3 gallons or 2 gallons. I don't remember. A certain size point, anything higher than that, and it has to be registered with the state in a lot of states. It's an easy process for most of them. You just send them like a picture and tell them where it's going to be at and all that kind of stuff. But it's usually got to be registered with the state, like Department of like the state ATF basically, or the state alcohol board or whatever. Okay, so looks like that is that. Let me go back to sharing. And we'll keep moving down the road here on this. Okay, so chlorine bleach. If you're going to use household chlorine bleach, just be aware that that bleach only stays maximally effective for about 6 months, and then it starts to get less effective after that. You want to get the unscented stuff, and you want the sodium hypochlorite to be between the range of 6 to 8.25%. Okay. Once you add your bleach, let it wait for about 30 minutes before drinking it. Let's see. Okay, so for 1 quart, you're looking at 2 drops. For this is with the 6%. 1 gallon, about 8 drops. You got 8 gallons, 2/3 of a teaspoon. Okay. All right. Yeah, important note, treating salt water with bleach will not make it safer to drink. Try to make the book or the little ebook as idiot proof as possible. Okay, so I have a video on this as well, using pool shock to purify water is a pretty easy thing to do. It's using granular calcium hypochlorite, which is basically a powdered form or a solid form of bleach. The great thing about this is that this 1 pound of calcium hypochlorite will probably purify like thousands and thousands of gallons, like a lot of water. So if you got like 5 or 6 pounds worth of calcium hypochlorite and you stored that away in an emergency, you'd be able to purify a lot of water. One thing to note is it's very caustic. You do not want to store it in a metal container at all. You want to store them in plastic containers because they'll react with metal, the gases from the chlorine. So you definitely only want to store it in a plastic container. Okay, and just note the CDC does say that water purification with chlorine is not super effective at killing cryptosporidium. So you want to combine bleach with a filter of some sort, because again, crypto is fairly large, so pretty much any basic filter is going to get it. All right. Okay, so this is a 2-part process. First, you want to take a level teaspoon of the calcium hypochlorite or HDH. You want that strength when you buy it to be 68 to 73%. You want to mix that in with 1 gallon of water. So 1 level teaspoon with 1 gallon of water. EPA recommends 1 heaping teaspoon to 2 gallons of water. I find for the sake of practicality, it's easier to use 1 gallon and 1 level teaspoon for the base mixture. Okay, do it whichever way you prefer, but they're both basically the same. This will also be slightly stronger, so it should do a better job of killing the nasty stuff in the water. Part 2, the next step is to take the specific amount of solution you just made and put it into the water you're trying to purify to drink. So the EPA states that you're looking for a 1 to 100 ratio. The amounts will differ based on how much you're trying to purify. So see the list below for different amounts. For the sake of simplicity, I'll explain how to purify 3/4 of a gallon. So if you take 2 level teaspoons of the bleach solution and you mixed it and put it into 1 container with 3/4 a gallon of untreated water, mix it completely, let it sit for a minimum of 30 minutes. 1 hour if the water is cold or has high turbidity. However, I recommend letting the water sit for 2 hours before drinking. In a survival situation, the water may be pretty full of turbidity, so letting it sit longer will help to ensure that it's fully purified. The added time will also allow the extra chlorine to evaporate. Talked about that earlier. After the water's been mixed and it has sat out for 2 hours, take the water and pour it back and forth between the containers it's in and another clean container like a 5-gallon bucket 5 or 10 times. This will help to improve the taste and allow some of the chlorine to evaporate off. Once that's done, you're ready to drink. So pretty straightforward. You can look at the process and see if it makes sense. I've also done some videos on it too. You can see that. So 16 ounces or 1 pint of the chlorine solution would treat 12.5 gallons of water. 8 ounces or 1 cup of chlorine solution would treat 6.25 gallons of water. You could easily round down and just let it sit a little bit longer, so you could do 5 gallons at a time. 4 ounces would be about a half cup of the chlorine solution. That'll treat about 3 gallons of water, so on, so forth down the line. Okay. Water purification tablets is another way to go. Micro Pure, Aqua Tabs, Potable Aqua brands, those are all good, things. And they either use sodium chloride or sodium dichlorocyanurate or chlorine dioxide to kill off the bacteria, viruses, cysts, and protozoa. Okay. Shelf life on the Micro Pure tablets is 4 years, and the shelf life on the Aqua Tabs is 5 years. Iodine tablets is another way to go. Some people don't care for the taste of it. I kind of got used to it in the survival school, but and it is most effective with bacteria and giardia. Iodine tablets do not kill viruses or cryptosporidium. All right. So there are some other means of chemical decontamination using potassium permanganate, hydrogen peroxide, and stuff like that. But I've never really been able to find reliable sources, what I consider to be reliable sources for that. Okay, so that's going through all the water purification methods that I can come up with. Let's see here. Okay. Adapt 2030 says, any common plants in North America that can act as a coagulant to remove mud or dirt? Not that I know of. Not off the top of my head. Not anything that I can think of. Now, I mean, as a filtering mechanism, you could use pretty much any grass. But as far as like a plant that would attract it or anything, I'm not really aware of anything like that. Let me know if that's what you're talking about. Okay, so another thing to think about here with water purification is like what Earl was talking about earlier. How are you going to store your water? Bottles of water is a great way to do it. The problem with the bottles of water is over time, some cheap bottles, if you buy the cheap kind, which is pretty much what I always buy, those bottles can begin to degrade over time and start to leak. So think about that when you're buying it. If it's something that you're going to store for a long time, you might want to spend a little bit more and get a better bottle, a more sturdy bottle. Okay. The next thing is you could use those 15-gallon like blue containers. I've showed you guys on some of those on the past. I think you can get them on Amazon or Walmart. Walmart.com is where I got mine. It was a 15-gallon blue water barrel. So a lot of people like to use the big 55-gallon ones, and that's fine, but they weigh a lot and they're very difficult to move once filled. I think the 15-gallon ones make a lot more sense because you can still manhandle them. You can still get them, you can roll them around, you can move them, you can do stuff like that. So I like to keep, I think I've got 6 15-gallon ones downstairs. I've also got a 25-gallon ATV tank. And the way that I would use that is I would use that for getting from the water source to the house. And I have a couple of different kinds of pumps that I would use to, take it from the water source into the 25-gallon container. Primarily the Portawell is what I use. I'm an affiliate with them. There's a link in the description below. I've done some videos on this. But that is a mobile pump that you can take and run it through, several different filters before you put it into your clean container. And then it's just making it a lot safer to drink, and it'll store longer without, spoilage, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's a great method. And again, how safe it makes the water depends on what filters you run it through. If you're gonna just use the water for bathing, then you don't necessarily need to run it through a ceramic filter. And you could just run it through like some, sediment filters or an activated carbon filter to take the smell out or whatever. So there's lots of options that you can do that way. I think that's a really good option for the initial stage. Then once you're in your house, you can use a gravity filter like a Berkey or an Alexa Pure Pro, whatever the case may be. I also like to have the reverse osmosis filter from New Aqua, which is a 7-stage filter. And the cool part about that is, as long as you can make electricity, you can take the intake line and put it into your 25-gallon tank, and then just have it run right through and come right out at your faucet. And so it's a super easy conversion if we were in a, SHTF situation and you couldn't get clean water. So I think that's a great thing to have. I'm also an affiliate with the New Aqua guys as well, and there'll be a link down in the description below there too. So Adapt 2030 says, yes, I only know of Moringa oleifera. I said you crush the seeds and shake, but that's way in South Florida only. Yeah, I'm not really familiar with that. I haven't seen that. South Florida DCL, what's going on, my man? How you doing? Hadn't heard that before. I haven't spent a lot of time in the swamps though, so it's not really like my area of expertise. More of the temperate woodlands is kind of more familiar with. Let's see. Oh yeah, give those a shot, Earl. I think you'll like the 15-gallon ones. To me, and you can even take like, if you took 6 of them and you could put a tabletop over it, you could use it as like a little table or something like that, if you wanted to, or 4 of them or whatever. If you wanted to keep them in the house, just drape some kind of cloth over the top of it or something. Water bricks are another way to go too. Water bricks are not too terrible. They're kind of expensive for what they are, and I think they've gone up in price quite a bit. Water bricks are cool because you can also store like rice and beans and stuff in them as well, aside from just water. But yeah, so back to this. So the main thing is that like, you're only going to be able to store so much water in your house. Now, unless you got a pole barn like Earl, or, something like that, then there's going to be a limit to how much you store. So you really need to think about developing your system for how you're going to get the water from the water source out wherever your house is. Maybe there's a stream or a lake or, something fairly close to your house, and you're going to go there and you're going to get the water. You have to bring it back to the house and then figure out how to purify it and make it safe and all that. Something to think about also is that waterways are what we consider in the military to be lines of communication. That's because people always use waterways when it comes to like primitive type situations. And so you're at a higher likelihood of dealing with or encountering a person at a water source than you are in other locations. So make sure that you take your security considerations into consideration when you're going out to get your water. Like, you might want to have one guy whose job it is to deal with getting the water and another guy to, maintain security. So something to think about with that, and if you're taking an ATV or a UTV or something like that to go get that water, that's going to be noisy. It's going to attract attention and all that kind of stuff. And you got to be able to defend that too. So think about that. All right. I think that's about it. We've come up to about an hour. We're a couple of minutes away from an hour. So if you guys have got any last minute questions you want to talk about, then go ahead and throw them in the chat and I will answer them shortly. One thing I want to let you know about before we go here is Refuge Medical. Refuge Medical makes the best first aid and trauma kits on the market. I think they were doing a special on the new, oh, that's a canine. I didn't even notice that one. That's pretty cool. It looks like we got a canine handler kit for dogs and stuff. I want to say they were running a special on. There we go. The Adventure Kit 2.0. So it's a fairly expensive kit. If you use a discount code Reality Survival, I can save you 10% off that. So that's about $50. But this kit is a really good kit to keep in your vehicle. It's a pretty comprehensive kit, and being in a vehicle crash you're statistically way more likely to need a medical kit in a vehicle than probably anywhere else you're going to be. So that's why I think these are great. We've got one of these in my wife's car, and I've got a couple of different refuge kits in my truck. But these are really good kits. So check them out. They're expensive, but it is life-saving equipment. And if you do ever use it in a life-saving event, Bear will he'll give you the supplies that you used to re-outfit your kit. So that's kind of cool too. It's sort of like a lifetime warranty kind of thing, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, think about Refuge Medical when you're thinking about getting your medical supplies, and use a discount code Reality Survival. Okay, let's see here. Where are we at? Pop in the chat, see if you guys got anything else. If you don't, then we will be getting off here. All right. Yeah. Eric Booth says he's got a well and he's wanting to put a pitcher pump on it. I've been wanting to do a sandpoint well with a pitcher pump at the top. I've seen lots of videos where guys have done them and dug them out and everything like that. And I have a low-lying area back here. The only problem is I'm in the granite state and the rocks around here are atrocious. So I don't know if I would be able to get down deep enough to get, a significant amount of water. I might try it though one of these days here. All right. Oh, good to know. So Steve M says salt pools also have cyanuric acid, chlorine stabilizer. The LD50 for rabbits is 50, what is that, grams per kilogram. Typical pool has 0.09 to 0.18 grams per gallon. So if you can decipher what that means, then you should think about that. I'm not real good on the on exactly how you would transfer that. So South Florida DCL, do you still chat with Eric and Che? I haven't talked with them in quite a while. I think Che took his channel down. I went to look for it the other day and I couldn't find it. And I know Eric's still going, and I emailed with him not too long ago, and we kind of talked about getting something together to do something again, but we just hadn't really made it happen. I'm sure we could. We should. I've been thinking about trying to do like an interview format. I went over onto Cold War Preppers channel the other night and did that, and I thought, that might be kind of fun to do, like just have some guys from different channels on and all that kind of stuff sometime. So I might start doing that. We'll see. Crafty Veteran, if you're still on here, you want to do that, want to do an interview on the channel here, let me know. We'll do that. That'd be cool. Or we could get Renaissance Marine on here, or Leatherneck Prepper, or Redneck Prepper. I don't know, whoever else has got a channel. If you guys got a channel and you want to come on here and talk, Jared, whoever, it'd be kind of fun. All right, I think that's pretty much it. So probably see you next Sunday. We'll probably talk about food preparation and long-term food storage and all that kind of stuff. Okay. All right, guys. Don't forget to live the 6 P's. Proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. And go over to Substack and sign up on Substack. You're going to have a giveaway here in just a couple of days for all the paid subscribers. I'm running a 25% off special. So you can get the annual subscription for like $35-40, something like that. And we're going to have giveaways each month at the end of the month. And then we'll also have, of course, the 100,000 subscriber giveaway for the channel as well when we hit 100,000 subscribers. So that's it.